Josh Mueller, your knife guy here, and today we're going to answer a question that I get quite a bit. Many of my customers ask me, how do I cut those really hard fall squashes? Squashes like acorn squash, butternut squash, or spaghetti squash. And I'm excited to show you today really the proper way to do this, and it's a way that makes it very easy and very safe. I find most people, the big concerns that they have is the squashes are really hard, so they're not too easy to cut into, plus they're weird shapes, so they tend to roll around a lot, and they really aren't that easy to control. So we're going to talk about how to do that. So we'll start with the butternut squash. The very first thing I do on any of the squashes before I even go to cut them is choose the right knife. I like a square vegetable cleaver. It's not as thick and heavy as a meat cleaver would be, which actually makes it go through the squashes a little bit easier because it's thinner, but it does have a square shape and a heavy-duty feel to it, plus a razor-sharp smooth edge blade. So you want that smooth edge because that smooth edge is going to go straight down through those hard skins a lot easier than like a jagged edge that you're trying to saw with would. First thing I do is take the stems off. So the easiest way to do that is just stick your knife in right above the stem and just cut it off. Because when you're going through the middle of the squash, you really don't want to run into that stem as you're trying to cut straight through it. Now this one's a little longer than the knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the very sharp corner of that blade and actually just stick it right in the middle. The thing I love about a square knife like this is that you can actually grab both corners very comfortably and push straight down through and really get your weight over top of things. I'm sure this is going to look really easy the way that I do it, but it's just as easy as it looks. Don't let yourself be fooled. So stick the corner of the knife right in there so you get a nice grip on the squash, and then just grip the knife in both corners like this, and then just push your weight right over top of it. And you just push it all the way down through. So now we've cut halfway through the squash. Pull your knife out, and then you want to spin your squash around and go the other way. So again, we're going to stick it right in here, and then we're just going to put our hand on top and just kind of wedge it down through nice and easy. And now you'll see you split it just like that. An ice cream scoop is actually a really great tool to use to get all of those seeds and all the stuff that you're not going to cook or not going to eat out of the inside of the squash. One scoop, nice and easy, just like that. When you do this, it really helps to have an ice cream scoop that has a nice point on it, so you can really dig into the hardness of the meat of the squash. Again, you want to start by just taking the corner of your knife and popping the stem off of that. When you do that, what's great is now it makes your acorn squash so you can set it on its lid, and now it won't roll around at all. That's the biggest problem with acorn squash, is it's such a weird shape. It rolls very easily, and if you're trying to put all your weight on top of it and it's rolling around, it might not feel very safe. But this way, you just cut the stem off, set it on its lid, and then just again push the knife straight down through, nice and easy. The great thing about that square tip right there is when you put your hand and your weight on top, you don't have to worry about slipping off like you would with a chef knife that comes to a point. If you slip on that and come back, you're way more likely to cut yourself with the point of the knife. Whereas with this, it's like leaning on a board to push it through. And again, you do the same thing where you can just take your ice cream scoop and scoop out all the guts. Now let's look at the spaghetti squash. This is one of my favorite squashes because when you cook it, it's very simple and easy to cook. You just season it up, throw it in the oven, and then when it's all done, you can actually just take a fork and scrape it out, and it's just like spaghetti. It has the same texture. You can even put sauce on it and eat it that way. It's really a cool squash, and it's extremely healthy for you. Again, you want to stick your knife in here and just cut off the front end so you get that stem out of the way. And then same thing as you would with the acorn squash. See how the knife is not quite as big as the squash. So I'm going to go and start with it halfway instead. And again, just get that corner right in there. And then just put my weight on the blade and push it through. So now we're halfway cut through the squash. And we'll just want to roll it around and do it the same thing on the other side. Nice and easy, just like that. Right where all the seeds and kind of the gooey parts are. And then with a spaghetti squash, all you do is season it up, maybe put a little oil in there and put them face down on your baking sheet and throw them in the oven. So there you are, all your fall squashes, cut super easy. And again, it just comes down to having a razor sharp, square shaped knife that you can get comfortable putting your weight on top of. Let the knife do the work for you, and super hard, heavy duty things like these become a very easy job to cut up in your kitchen.